Good evening. My name is Brian W. Smith. I'm the award-winning best-selling author of more than 40 novels. But today, I'm not in writer mode. I'm putting on my interviewer cap, and I'm going to interview some of the industry's biggest names, people whom I've had the privilege, the honor of getting to know during my 20-year writing career. I created the Readers Want to Know podcast so that you, the reader, can get a glimpse into the personality of your favorite author. I want you to see a side of them that readers normally don't get to see. So I want you to sit back and enjoy the interview. That's what I want you to do. But first, I need you to do something for me. I need you to take a moment, click the like button. I need you to click the subscribe button. I need you to do it now, right now. I'll give you a couple seconds. You did it? Good. Let's start the interview.
Hello, hello, hello. It's me, your boy Brian W. Smith again, and I'm back with another episode of Readers Wanna Know, the podcast where we get all up in your favorite author's business. And tonight, my guest is a young man who is quiet. He's a quiet assassin. This guy doesn't say much. You don't see him out there all over the place, but he keeps dropping hit after hit after hit. He's a multiple bestseller. He has sold a gazillion books, buku books. But what I like about him most is his consistency. He disappeared seemingly for a while, and now he's back with a vengeance these last couple of years. Tonight, I am having my conversation with none and other, I mean, the one and only, none other than Mr. Brandon Massey. Brandon, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out. I'm happy we were able to make this happen.
Yeah, it's been a while,
Look
man.
forward to chatting.
Been
Yeah,
been this has been in the works for some weeks now. Finally
yeah,
got it done, and
yeah,
there's so
yeah,
much to talk about. I um I want to go back to what I said during the intro, and that is you seemingly disappearing for a while and then coming back. Talk to me about
yeah.
why the disappearance and why the return.
Yeah, so that was back in, so I had a hiatus back in 2010. And basically the situation was I had just gotten burnt out, honestly. I had was no longer with Kensington, my publisher. I had been with them for, several books, and there was just some big changes there with my relationship with them. And I was just kind of at a crossroads. Um, Not really even sure I wanted to continue publishing, to be honest with you, because the industry was just changing so much. We saw bookstores closing, the economy. This was like 2008, 2009. We saw the economy really, hit a wall, and I just wasn't really sure. Even though I originally came onto the scene, self-publishing, I had been with a publisher for almost a decade, so I wasn't really immediately interested in going back to that. You know, so yeah, I took a break, and I think it was a good thing for me to just take some time away from the game and get my priorities straight, and really rediscovered my love of writing, um, which is important. I had to get back to what drew me to wanting to do this in the first place. And what I ended up doing is I was tinkering with a book called In the Dark, and I ended up finally publishing that book, and I self-published it in 2014, and I just had a lot of fun writing it. It's one of my favorite stories, probably because it was like my, sort of my return, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, and then ever since 2014, I've been trying to be a lot more consistent. Uh, Try to do at least a book a year, sometimes two, uh, maybe more. If I can get my speed up to that. But just really, just really focusing on writing stories that, first and foremost, I have to enjoy the story. I mean, you know how that is. I mean, you got to
Mhm.
enjoy what you're doing, but at the same time, it needs to be something that potentially readers will enjoy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that can be hard to gauge.
Mm-hmm.
I've written books that I
Mm-hmm.
was convinced would be hits, and
Oh
like
my goodness.
nobody read them.
Facts. That is, that's one of those things that people authors like to brag and tout um,
Mhm.
their credentials and things that are their successes. But I
Yeah.
I I've never been shy about
Mhm.
saying that I've had a couple of flops. I had
Yes.
books, I had a couple of flops,
Yeah.
man, and I was shocked that they
Mhm.
were flops, right? Because in
Yeah.
my mind, I'm
Yeah.
thinking, oh, this is going to be good, but they just didn't do as well. Conversely, I've had books that I wasn't quite
Mhm.
sure how they'd be received, and they took off. So,
Right. Yeah.
I'm curious, is there a book that comes to mind that you just, in your mind, you thought this was going to be a winner, and it turns out that it didn't do as well as you thought? And conversely, is there's one that you didn't think would do that well, but people seem to like a
Mhm.
lot?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there were two books I published that I thought were just great. I mean, I did a shit ton of research writing these books and thought that they would just take me to that next level. So the first one was Covenant, which I actually had pitched that book to my publisher and never really got a rejection or much of anything in terms of feedback. So I just, I really liked the story. So that was one of the books I ended up self-publishing. And that was more of a sort of like a action adventure novel, sort of like that movie Enemy of the State with Will
Hmm.
Smith.
Hmm.
It was
Hmm.
kind of in that vein.
Great
And
movie,
I was
by the way.
really, yeah, yeah.
Prophetic
I was
movie.
exactly. It dealt with things like high-tech surveillance and
Hmm.
conspiracies, and I was just really excited to put that out there. And people just weren't ready for it, I guess,
No.
because it did very little from a sales perspective. And then another book I did in 2018 it's called Frenzied, and that is got a little bit of sci-fi. I've always been a big sci-fi fan.
Hmm.
And it was like a sci-fi thriller, like the plot seed. It deals with this live, work, play community that goes on lockdown because this strange virus has taken over this community, and
Hmm.
it's basically turning people into these psychos, so kind of almost like a zombie type
Zombies,
thriller,
right?
but more of a sci-fi, maybe a
Hmm.
little more like 28 Days Later, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Um, I loved it. I think the science angle, which I got kind of deep into, might have just caught some of my longtime readers off guard.
Hmm.
So that book never really did what I hoped it would do. Now, I have two books that did much better than I expected. The first one is
Let me guess.
Nana.
I knew you was gonna say. I knew you were gonna say Nala. I was about to
Yeah,
guess Nala. Go ahead. Hmm.
yeah, yeah, because um, I didn't even, that was one of these books where I started writing it, I worked on it for a couple months, and then it was just going into the really weird territory. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to set this down for a while because I don't even know what's happening with this story. I wasn't sure how to finish it. So I set it aside, came back to it like a year later, and just kind of finished it in this white heat of, I was typing, had my laptop sitting upstairs with my family while they were watching TV. I'm typing, I'm working on the
You're in
book.
that zone. You're in the zone.
Yeah, yeah. I just kind of just really hit that flow state. Finished the book in like 2 months and put it out there. And man, people just freaked out. I mean, they just
Yeah.
love that story.
Hmm.
The other one was The Landlord, which came out, and
Hmm.
that's like my second most popular book.
Yeah, I
That
read that. I
came
read
out
The
in
Landlord.
2022. Yeah, thank you.
Hmm.
And that one. I felt like I was writing about some material that was really personal for me. I usually don't like to write books about writers because I feel like that's lazy.
Hmm.
Like I only just
Cliche.
right.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But it was a very personal story, and the things that the characters go through, I had some deep, painful experience with, and I just wasn't sure how folks would respond to that. Um, I mean, that book's, I mean, it continues to sell well. That actually, I'd say that and Nana are my two top sellers. Um, so, you just never know
What's going to
what
hit?
people are
What's
going to
not?
respond to. Yeah, you just never know.
So there's a couple of things a couple of observations,
Hmm.
and I don't know if the average reader catches this, but as a fellow writer, I do, and as someone who's done the major book deal shuffle, I get it. I think I already know the
Hmm.
answer, but readers want to know, so I'm going to serve you up this question so that you can give them the answer. So
Hmm.
I noticed that when you returned, um, you're self-publishing and putting out your own books.
Right, right.
Um, and with your catalog and with your history and your success, I know it would be very easy to get an agent and go back the major publishing route. Um,
Hmm.
as I stated, I believe I already know the answer because there's a lot of parallels with my own career. But why don't you tell the readers
Hmm.
why you chose to go the route that you're going now? Because there's something you talked about. Um, here's one of the observations. Of course, I noticed that you didn't
Hmm.
sign with a major publisher and you're putting it out yourself. But I noticed that there's a lot. I have jokingly called you behind the scenes when talking with other writers and your name came up. Um, I call you the Black Stephen King in
Hmm.
that there's a lot of similarities in your style and your subject matter that you
Hmm.
choose to write about. But I
Hmm.
also know how the industry works and the fact that you can go
Yes,
from something like Nana to The Landlord to Good Intentions to even
right.
Backwoods right now. That's a lot of genre hopping. So
Yes,
why
yes.
don't you why don't you talk to the readers about why you have chosen, I believe intentionally, this independent route?
Well, yeah, I mean, you touched on it a little, but basically it's the freedom, creative freedom, um, to do literally any type of story I want to do when I want to do it, like when I like publish on my schedule. Um, I'm big over just having control of the whole production process. Like for me, cover art is huge. And when I was with the publisher, I never had much input at all into that. It was always literally get an email with your cover attached. And it's like, here's your cover. Hope you like it.
I
If you
I
don't,
I
too
I
bad.
remember I remember the Simon and Schuster days. I remember getting an email. Um, the agent, of course, is the mouthpiece, right? And
Right.
I was given four options of a cover.
Hmm.
Let's
Hmm.
just say A, B, C, and D. First
Yeah.
of all, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I
Right.
didn't like being relegated to having to choose between four options. None of them I was crazy about, but I chose
Right.
A, and then they still turned around and did C. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I was so into it was so important to me that I actually, for one of my last books with Kensington, I actually hired a cover designer and had him design a cover. And I sent it to them and said, look, this is the cover that we should use. Do you think they used it? Of course not. The resulting cover looked nothing remotely like
The theme,
what I had paid this.
yeah.
Yeah, nothing. So, and I felt like, publisher, a lot of writers talk about stuff like this. Like, well, publishers will also say, well, you don't, leave the business to us. You don't know what sells. I do know what sells. I study books study like the market. I look at covers constantly. I'm looking at what's selling, what are some common design elements between these different covers. So I feel like, at least as a writer, I have a pretty good handle on that. And
Not
I've
only
at
that,
least,
not only
I,
that, no one
yeah,
knows your no one knows your demographics and your fan base
yeah,
better than
exactly.
you. Especially,
Exactly.
man, look, a lot of times the people in these rooms don't look like us. They're
No,
25,
no, they
25
don't.
year old kids who, when you first wrote your book, were
Mhm.
probably in elementary school, and
Yes.
they're making
Mhm.
decisions about your book. It's just frustrating.
It is. And, they haven't read the story. I mean, they get it like a synopsis and they base their cover off of that. Whereas when I'm coming up with cover concepts that I give to the people I hire, it's my story. I'm giving them very specific thematic elements to put on that cover.
Right.
Um, and for me, I don't know. I mean, it's a lot more satisfying. I've gotten really good feedback off my covers.
You do. You
Um,
have great covers.
yeah, thank you. So, I mean, it's a lot of that. I'm just really a hands-on person. Um, and going back to, there's obviously some benefits to being with a publisher where if you want to be more hands-off, I guess you could take the risk and do that. It is a risk to be hands off, but you could do that. Some writers, they just, they say I just want to write. I don't want to deal with having to sell. But those of us who've been in this for a while, we know, well, you're going to have to sell, make efforts to sell,
If
market yourself, whether
if you
you want to or not.
if you don't, you won't be renewed when that book flops.
Exactly. I mean, I
Hmm.
could tell you when my first book, Thunderland, my first book, I self-published it, kind of hustled it for a couple years, got a little bit of buzz, got this deal with Kensington. They republished it like 2002, and the book was a total flop. And I don't even really count that when I talk about flops because it's my first book, so I don't really even bring it up when I talk about failed books. But I got really nervous. I had signed a 2-book deal, and I got really nervous that if the second book, if I didn't sell the hell out of that I could kiss my career goodbye. So I just literally maxed out my credit cards traveling across the country to promote Dark Corner.
Hmm.
Um, I can't tell you how much I spent. I mean, probably like $20,000, something
Hmm.
like that. Just in all the travel. Went to across both coasts, north, south, east, west, and then the book it did do well. I mean, I think it went into a fourth printing,
Hmm.
and it did a much better than Thunderland. So, but my example, but reason of me bringing that up is just even when you're with a publisher, is you still got to hustle.
Yeah.
So hell, I'm like, if I got to
It's
hustle, I may as well hustle and get a bigger share of the profit.
and
You
have more
know,
creative control. I mean,
exactly,
yeah, I mentor a bunch of authors. I tell them all the time, if you are operating under this premise that once you get a book deal, it's I'm mainly talking to the ones who like to say, I only want to write. And what I
yes,
tell them is that that's fine. However, um, they're going to hold you accountable for your sales, even though they're going to put a very little money behind your project, in terms of marketing and
yes,
advertising dollars. If it doesn't sell, you will still be looked at as a failure. So if you're going to take on
mhm,
that burden, then you may as well take creative control. At least if
yes,
it flops
exactly,
on your own terms. Um,
exactly,
because there's nothing more
exactly,
frustrating than a book not doing well, and the people who are telling you your book didn't do well also didn't allow you to have any input. Um,
exactly,
so
exactly.
I know that that can be frustrating. Um, let's talk about Backwoods in terms of genre hopping, because you came out with good intentions. I checked that out at the beginning of the year,
Yeah,
and
thank
then
you.
you come back with Backwoods, clearly two different genres.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I just kind of chuckle because this is I get you.
yeah.
I get you. I get you. Um, so when I read Backwoods, I just said, wow, this is a different angle from where he just left, and I love it. Talk to the reader about your most recent release, Backwoods.
Yeah, so Backwoods is a supernatural horror thriller, and it's like deep into that supernatural genre, which is a genre that I initially started with when I was publishing, but I moved away from that to do more psychological thriller type books. But Backwoods is about a an entrepreneur who is involved with some shady characters, and he finds himself in a severe bind financially. He needs to get a lot of money as quickly as possible. And it just so happens that his grandfather owns hundreds of acres of land in South Georgia that if his granddad were to sell this land, would net them several $1 million.
4.5 to be
Granddad is like
exact.
90. Yeah, 4.5. The granddad's like 90 years old. So he thinks, maybe I can convince him to sell this land. I mean, he's literally gotten an offer in the mail to sell it. So Nick, that's the name of the main character, embarks on this trip. He brings his girlfriend with him to convince his granddad to sell this land. Doesn't tell him why he wants him to sell it, just that, we should take advantage of this opportunity and make all this money. Doesn't care about the legacy that um, this land being in their family for several generations. He doesn't care about that, but his granddad cares about that, and we learn that the reason he cares about it is because there are some deep-seated secrets, sinister secrets, if you will, tied to this land. And so it was. What's funny about this is actually I wrote this book like 8 years ago, and literally wrote it in about 2 months. Like, when I get really cooking with something, it just can really flow like that. But at the time I finished it, I had started publishing more of these psychological thrillers. I just wasn't, I didn't think people would like it, or I thought folks would be like, what the hell is he writing? What's he doing? Is he going to do that? Is he going to do this? I worried about confusing people. And then I let a longtime reader of mine, who's been reading my stuff since like Thunderland. I just asked him. I said, you know what? I have a book I haven't published yet. Would you be interested in just taking a look at it and just give me your feedback? Because I wasn't even sure the book was good. I mean, I was like, I don't know. I hadn't looked at it in years. So he read it and literally read it over the weekend. He's like, dude, you got to publish this. And so then I was convinced, like, you know what? I'm just going to put it out there, and just see what people say. And if they like it, great. If not, that's all right. Somebody might like it, So
Mhm.
again, you can't predict what people are going to think, but the reception has actually been really positive so far. I mean, it's got some of my highest ratings. I did a podcast interview like 2, 3 weeks ago with a young woman, and she was telling me that she said she's read everything of mine. This was her favorite of mine. And I was
Mhm.
just blown away by that. But it just
Mhm.
shows you, you just never, like, just kind of repeating what I said, you just never really know how something you write is going to land with people.
Mhm.
Um, we have our sort of our own thoughts of what we're trying to accomplish with our stories,
Mhm.
the themes we want to hit on, whatnot. But it can hit people in a completely unexpected way.
Right.
So I think my main thing is I'm just trying to write what I feel are authentic stories.
Mhm.
To me, that's even more important than genre. Are you writing something that is authentically you, or are you
Mhm.
just
Putting something.
copying whatever? Yeah.
I have I'm not ashamed to admit, we talk.
Mm.
I have whenever I have put something out, uh, and it wasn't authentically me, maybe my motivation was money,
Mm.
or just trying to get something out there in terms of a new product.
Right.
But when you deep down, you know in your heart, it just never it
Yeah.
never lands right. It never lands right. So you have to be true to yourself. You said you brought up something that I want to touch on, and that was ratings.
Mm.
Um, have you've been doing this for over 20 years now.
Right.
So
Right.
um how do reviews hit you these days? Are you still I remember when I first started, I mean, a bad review could ruin your day, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yes.
so a bad review could ruin your day. I've become more thick-skinned, and I've just learned to roll with the punches and accept that not everyone is going to always like everything you write. Heck, even
Yeah.
your most adamant and supportive followers sometimes
Yeah.
will not um, like everything you like. What helped me get over the review thing is that I'm a big Denzel Washington fan. right?
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
and then it dawned on me one day. Um, I watched a Denzel movie. I don't remember what it was, but I wasn't crazy about it.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, well, hell, even Denzel has a flop or two.
Exactly.
So stop being
Exactly.
so hard on yourself, Brian, right?
Yes. Right.
How do
Right.
reviews hit you at this stage in your career? Can they really
Um,
do they impact you the way they, can they ruin your day?
it just I would say I still do look at them. I kind of have like my little personal metric where just talking about Amazon, once a book of mine hits about 50 ratings, I take a look and see what's the average, 4.2,
Mhm.
whatever. I pretty much stopped looking at them after that point.
Hmm. Interesting.
So yeah, I just stopped looking. But it was funny with Backwoods. So, someone gave me a 1-star review, and whenever I get a 1-star review, I'm like, "You really hated it that much? Like,
No,
why?
no. Or who
Like,
did you
what?"
piss off? You must have pissed somebody off.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So on Amazon, you can go look at the reviewer's profile, and you can see, well, what else have they rated. This person is given 1 stars to most of the things that they've written, that they'd read. And what was funny is they had read another earlier book of mine, The X's, and gave that one 1 star. And in their review, they said, "I'm never going to read anything by him again." I was like, but then you went and read the new book. So it's like, you don't even, whatever. So it just
Hmm.
proves that you can't take it too seriously. It's rare to get anything useful out of a 1 star review.
Hmm.
I find, like a 3 star, I might, occasionally I may get some little useful feedback. Um, but a lot of times people, they don't even say anything of substance. It's just, oh, it kept me up reading, or I didn't like it. It had too many typos or something like that. I just encourage my readers, people who, this is my thing. If you like a book or if you don't like a book, don't just post about stuff you don't like. That drives me crazy. That's like a pet peeve. Like when you see people, all they give are negative reviews, but then they'll say, "Well, I love all of his other books, but you don't have any positive reviews of these other books."
Hmm.
So I encourage readers to just leave a rating, whether you loved it or didn't. Say something. Don't just say something negative, though. If you liked something, so go ahead and say it. Authors, we need that. The validation is good, but at the same time, I'm not going to stop writing because someone gave me 1 star review. I
Right.
might be a little annoyed for a couple hours, but it's not like it's going to just haunt me.
Hmm.
For weeks and weeks, I'm still thinking, no, it's not that serious. It's just an opinion.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I kind of look for trends. Like if everyone is saying the same thing, like, oh, this book starts too slow. If I see that consistent
Then it makes
theme
it be
in the
some truth in it.
reviews, yeah, there may be some truth in it. So, there are some valid points I can take away from reviews.
Hmm.
Um, but at the same time, I don't, like I said, once I get to about 50 ratings, I kind of stop looking so closely because it's like, I don't want to go through that emotional roller coaster of somebody says something and they personally insult you or whatever. And, people say anything these days.
Well,
Keyboard
sometimes,
courage. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think it's like, where's this animus coming from? Look,
exactly.
when you put your work out there, whether it be art or the
Mhm.
written word, singing,
Yeah,
any type of creative art, you are putting yourself out there and subjecting yourself to other people's opinions.
exactly.
I just recognize that some people um they spout negativity like it's a sport. And
Yes,
you
yes,
have to learn how to if the criticism is about something mechanical, whether it be a
right.
typo or
Yeah,
too much um telling and not showing,
yeah.
that's one thing.
Mhm.
But if they just wanted you to expound on the main character's cousin's dog, and you didn't
Yeah.
follow up on that storyline. That's just opinion. That's opinion. That's subjective, right? So you just gonna have to roll with it. Um,
Yeah.
let me ask you this before I forget. I've often wondered, with your catalog and your longevity in this business, at some point, we all reach a point where we're ready to go to that next level. Are you pursuing movie options? Do you have a movie agent? Like, do you want to see your work on the big screen? And if so, what would be that one you'd serve up to any producer to do first?
Um, so good, yeah, good question. So Nana, actually a producer who also does scripts. He actually wrote the script. He's been shopping it around. He's done um some pretty good movies, like legit movies. He did this movie Black and Blue with starred Tyrese,
Hmm.
came out a few years
Yeah,
back.
I'm
He
familiar
did
with it.
that.
Because
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
believe it might have been shot in New Orleans, where I'm from. But go ahead.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So there's I got an iron in the fire with Nana. What else? Bad Influence. There's someone shopping that around. I don't have an actual film agent. I do have an attorney that I run things through because I'm not interested in agents and percentages. I'm like, I'll just pay you the money, pay you your fee, and I'm keeping everything else. I'm not having your hand in my pocket all the time. But
Man, that's a whole nother interview. Go ahead.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I mean, I, honestly, it's not something that I have heavily pursued. Um, I know some authors, I've did quite a few in-person events this past year, and ran across several authors who were telling me that, hell, they're like directing their own movies and producing, they're all on set and all this stuff. I'm like, wow, that just seems like a lot. I mean, that's if that's your thing.
Yeah, bro. I,
um,
so I let me tell you something. I co-wrote a movie um
mhm,
2 years ago, and of course you go on set, and I
yeah,
quickly told
yeah.
the producer, my co-writer, 2 days is enough for me. Y'all can have this. First of all, you're spending three-fourths of the day just sitting around. It
Yeah.
is a much.
Mhm,
I mean, I love I love being involved. I love the creative process.
mhm,
But
mhm,
what people don't realize is that unless you are really, really a thespian, or you're really the
mhm,
producer, or somebody's really into that industry, um,
mhm.
movie production can be rather boring and tedious. Reshooting the
Yeah,
same scene
yeah,
multiple times. So I didn't.
mhm,
I wasn't that crazy about the actual production process. But
yeah,
so yeah, I can
yeah.
relate.
Yeah, so it's one of those things for me of I could be a little more aggressive about pursuing opportunities there. I admit that I could be. Um, I mean, I've just always really preferred to just focus on writing books. I mean, that's what I love to do. Um, so that's what I do now. Could I do more? Like I said, yeah, I probably could, but I just haven't pursued it,
You
honestly.
sound you sound like a man with a healthy other career.
Yes,
You can, you know what I'm saying, right? Um,
right.
the For those who are listening, what I'm saying is that you can always tell a writer who has a healthy other career because they're not thirsty for Hollywood and all
Yes.
this stuff that comes with it.
Yeah.
That's just my observation. What are your thoughts?
You're absolutely right. I mean, I have a full-time job. I didn't always have a full-time job. I did write full-time for about 5 years. And I'll just say when it's good, it can be really, really good. When it's bad, it's really horrible. Especially if you're with a publisher. I mean, it can just be up and down,
Hmm.
um, messing with your money, like. That- That's where my story inspiration for The Landlord came from, was my experience as a full-time writer and those just extreme financial swings that unless you have outstanding contracts with your publisher and you're well paid and you're paid promptly and you got books out the wazoo and a long backlist, there's going to be some financial crises
It's gonna ebb and flow. Yeah,
hitting
it's
you
gonna
in the
ebb and
pocket.
flow.
Yeah, yes. So I went back to my day job, which I work in information technology, and do pretty well with that. And it just gives me the peace of mind. I'll give you an example. So I'd say this was 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I had these producers for this podcast contact me completely out of the blue. I'd never heard of these people. I heard of the company that they worked for was called Wonderly, and it's owned by Amazon. But they were telling me, yeah, they were like, we found you. I'm like, how did you find me? They were never very clear. I kind of went through this phase where all these people were looking for black writers. This was like before the whole anti-DEI thing started. But anyway, they contacted me and they said, we're going to do this anthology show, and it's going to be ghost stories and other supernatural tales. We want you to do it, but it's work for hire.
Mhm.
And I know what work for hire is.
Yeah.
And they were going to pay me like 7 grand or something like that. Now, back in the day when I was full-time writing, I would have jumped at that.
Right, 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 right. I feel
I would
you.
have been all over that. But
Right,
when I was talking with them, and they're like, "Yeah, it's 7 grand, and we're gonna have to have all these meetings and review your work constantly, and it's work for hire. I don't get credit for it. Hell with that. I'm not doing that. I don't need to
right,
do that."
right.
So it's I always tell writers, you meet newer writers, and they're like, "I just want to write full time," and I'm just thinking, why? Like, why do you need to specifically so that you can feel in your
Yeah,
mind that you
yeah.
are a
It's
real writer?
right, right. It feels a form of validation. It's somebody who did it full time for a decade. Um,
Mhm.
it's feast or famine. If you are not, I mean, you eat what you kill, and if you're not a natural hunter,
Yeah.
you're going to starve. I mean, facts.
Yes. Yeah.
If you're not a natural hunter, you're going to starve. You are
Yeah.
going to if you're going to do it and survive and live a comfortable lifestyle, you are working 14, 15-hour days. Don't get it twisted. Um,
Yes.
so um,
Yeah.
yeah, that I man, look, I can sit here and talk to you for hours. I gotta wrap this up. I just wanted to give you your flowers, man, and we've had the
I
opportunity of
appreciate
working
that.
together on projects, and it's always been a pleasure. I
Yeah.
have great admiration for you. Um,
Thank
I
you.
just love
Thank
your
you.
whole flow. So I just wanted to give you your flowers, give you an opportunity for those who haven't read your work to be exposed to you, and I just want to
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for coming
Thank
on.
you.
Readers Want to Know, man. Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate it. Thank you. I have enjoyed chatting with you as always, and appreciate the opportunity.
No doubt,
Yeah.
bro. No doubt. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got to wrap it up because Brandon and I sit here and talk for hours. So I want you guys to go out and buy Backwoods by Brandon Massey. It's available on all platforms right now. And after you go out and buy Backwoods, I want you to, well, before you go out and buy Backwoods, I want you to like and subscribe
Yeah.
this interview and subscribe to Readers Want to Know. And go out and buy the book and tell a friend, and then tell that friend to tell a friend because
Yep.
we can't
Yep.
continue to grow. Word of mouth is still the best form of advertising. And we authors, we all, we're constantly trying to expand our territory, and we need your help to do it. So for now, we're going to wrap this up. Until we meet again, until we see each other again, I want you guys to be safe and keep reading.
Well, there you have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed the interview. Tune in next time when I give you a behind the scenes sort of glimpse into the personality of another one of your favorite authors. Until we meet again, I want you to be safe and keep reading.